Hello, everybody. Today I just kind of am airing out my thoughts a little bit. Um, I have a niece, yeah, but a nephew, and this is about my nephew. Actually, this is completely irrelevant to my nephew, but the setting of the story it has to do with that. I had my nephew's birthday party today. Went and saw him. It was nice. For 90% of it, I felt like I made a fool out of myself a couple times, and I felt like people were kind of staring daggers at me a little bit. Like, I don't want to make it sound like people were treating me poorly, but um, there were certain points in the conversation where I understood things a little bit slower than everyone, and I felt like people were looking at me like, this guy's a fucking idiot. And I get really emotional with that kind of thing. I am a slow learner, and this is in part about that, and in part about a few other things. Um, but like, I think it's because like people will talk about like a simple subject, like a rope swing to the lake or something, and I'll keep asking details, and it really like it makes me look like an idiot, and you can tell when I'm having a conversation with somebody about that. They're kind of looking at me like, why the fuck is this guy asking me details about like the tire swing or whatever. But this goes a little bit further than that. I feel like my family might think like I'm a drug addict or some sort of like not a stable person, and I'm clearly a little bit slower in some regards. I'm very good at articulating my feelings right after they happen, and I do these videos. But kind of when I was driving, I was following my mom to my sister's place, and they were talking about me in the SUV. I'm pretty sure. I was following them. I was listening to music, and I was like kind of like bobbing around, and they were looking at me and through the rear view, I'm assuming, and like when my mom stepped out of the SUV, she said, "Well, at least he's smiling." Like, I mean, like I guess a lot of the time I'm kind of like monotone, and like I do that kind of like dead eyes thing, and it takes a lot for me to get engaged with the conversation. I have kind of hyper focused things that I'm into, and a lot of them are very niche and weird. They're considered weird. They're mostly about like ancient times or World War II, and they're just kind of like quick factoids. Like it's textbook Asperger's, really. Um, and I don't think any of my family really knows. I've told my mom. I haven't been properly diagnosed, but as an adult where I'm at, it's like $4,000, and there's no benefit for me diagnosing. If I tell them, like it's nothing that they don't already know. It's not going to be like a shock. Like they already think that I'm stupid. So just to tell them a diagnosis of, hey, I actually do slowly learn certain things, and this is why I might be a little bit monotone at sometimes. But like these things kind of they really it's almost like a stab in the heart. Like they're very accepting. They support me. They're a good family, but I feel like the black sheep. I feel like I'm trying my best, and I'm trying to kind of include myself a little bit more. And for a long time, I was kind of isolating, and it wasn't isolating because I was doing anything that was, I don't know, like I think they think that I'm like a drug addict or something, and I've never done hard drugs. And like kind of like I was bobbing my head, and I was kind of smoking a cigar, and then my uncle was like, "Oh, you got a buzz from that," and they're kind of like jabbing, kind of. It almost seemed like they were investigating right off the bat when I got there, like if I was on drugs, and I'm not on drugs. And I notice like I'm doing stimming more now. That I have more on the go, and when I have more on the go, stimming goes up. And it's the same thing that happened when I was like in middle school. Like when I was always doing stuff. I was kind of like always like in the kitchen now. I'm kind of flapping my arms like a bird, and I'm drawing lines mentally, and I'm doing all these rituals. Some OCD has to do with this, and I'm not doing this publicly. I try to do it at home, away from the public view. But like even with the music, like I was just enjoying the music, and they're kind of like, I think they think I'm either a crazy person or I'm doing hard drugs, and they think I'm non-talkative because I'm antisocial and I'm just looking for like quick highs or something, or that I'm some kind of like drug user. But like I've only smoked marijuana in high school. I did a lot of drinking through 20 to 24, and that's pretty much it. Like I've done mushrooms one time. I've had friends that have done hard drugs, and I've talked about it sometimes. And that's the end of the story here. Is I kind of went the whole way without making a fool out of myself, and then towards the end people started talking about like the drug users and like organized crime and like documentaries, and like I started talking like I brought up I knew a guy in high school who robbed a bank, and then like, which is actually true, and like I kind of went down this rabbit hole of talking about like acquaintances that I've known that have kind of went astray, and I don't know if they believe me or not. They're kind of rolling their eyes and kind of, I don't know, man. They for sure think I'm an idiot, but if they think I'm an idiot, then at least they should cut me a break. But they don't. They kind of, well, they do, but I can see it in their eyes because I'm not that big of an idiot. I'm just a little slow in some regards, and these stories are true. They're my experiences from when I was younger, but it reinforced, I think, their view of maybe I was on drugs, because like when they're talking about drugs and they're very conservative, and when I'm kind of talking about like, well, maybe these people with drugs aren't the worst. Well, now I'm kind of it's like kind of back in the days when people were really homophobic, and I know like people have came out now and it's very accepting, but back in the day, like when I was younger, if you would defend a gay person, everyone would just assume you're gay as well. And I think that's kind of what this is with the drug use. And I'm kind of saying, well, I know these people from back in high school who ended up like this, and I was kind of spinning the narrative of we should hold accountability to the people who are running the businesses and selling the drugs, but they were kind of on the stuff, we'll let the government cook up a batch of bad fentanyl and kill them all kind of thing. And like, it's like, well, if that's your attitude, it should be towards the people that are starting the problem. And then I think they just all kind of rolled their eyes. They think like I'm on drugs. They think, like, I feel like the black sheep of the family. I was sensitive to the whole thing already because I didn't feel like any of my stories were relevant. I tend to overshare to the wrong audiences, the wrong things. I don't know how to code switch. Most of the time I was just sitting there quietly, I was listening, I was nodding, and like I'd poke up an opinion every now and again about something, and like I just sounded like an outsider with all the conversation pieces that they had. And like I think they also think that I think I'm some sort of cool guy, that I know like some guy who robbed a bank and I was like bragging on his behalf or something. That's not the case. I was just, sometimes when people like ask me something I know, I'll start talking about it, and like I'm not trying to look like a cool person or try to like get some kind of cool points because I knew some badass, but then they kept listing, like asking more questions, and I kept giving them more answers, and like I could see that they were kind of rolling their eyes at me, and I kind of got manic about it, and I was kind of doubling down and kept talking about it and oversharing the wrong information to the wrong audience, which just made me look like a delinquent or a drug user, and reaffirmed like all their confirmation bias about me. And like I don't know how much they even like me. They support me. They're nicer to me than I could ever even fully appreciate. I'm very grateful, but I do feel out of place a lot of the time talking to them, and I feel like I'm almost a burden. I probably am, but like I don't know. I'm trying the best I can. I don't fully understand a lot of how to relax around people either. I don't understand a lot of the things that go on, but what I do understand is when the look that somebody gives you when they think you're an idiot. That I have seared in my head so well, and I think that's how I can articulate myself in these videos, is because I've had a history of just having to defend myself my whole life about, well, I'm actually not completely an idiot. Like, some things I'm slow on, but hear me out here. And I think that's how I've come to be able to kind of talk about some of the things that I talk about in these videos. But it's all emotion based. I get triggered with this because I feel like I just want to feel more belonging. I feel like I've missed out on a lot. Like, I've never really done much. I've been very reclusive. A lot of lost time, wasted years. And that I don't blame society, I blame myself. But then when I have like a story about something that's they've brought up and I want to share, it feels like I get dismissed. Like, and I feel like it has to do with political, what's the word, splitting, not splitting, the divide that we have now, because they are kind of conservative, and like, even like, they brought up a cane corso, and they were like talking if it was made for hunting or dog fighting, and I said, well, the cane corso was the conquistador's dog, and it was one of the dogs that was actually a war dog made to hunt people, and like, they kind of all rolled their eyes on that too. They're like, oh, here he goes with the leftist kind of thing again. He's talking about the genocide. He's trying to make a political point. No, it's just a fact. Like, it's off of Wikipedia. I'm just sharing something that's relevant to the conversation. It seems like I'm a black sheep in this family, and I enjoyed myself the best I could. I felt socially awkward. I felt people were kind of looking at me like I was an idiot. And I feel like even if I am, which I'm not going to submit to an insult, that I should still be listened to and included. But anyways, this is kind of my rant. And I'm not shit-talking anybody because, like I said, like, they support me so much. But I am emotional right now, and I do feel like I was kind of getting the eye rolls, and people were kind of like shaking my hand in pity almost, rather than your family. It felt like more of like pitiful kind of. It felt more like charity than acceptance and love. But charity comes from love too. But I would rather be understood. And I'm gonna make another video about normalization and if you should disclose autism and trying to fake it till you make it, and kind of all that kind of thing too. But I feel really depressed right now. Anyways.